All right, gang. Jeff here with the Nickley Group. Today we are going to be covering essentially kind of the roadmap to buying a home and what the process would be when you are working with a client. And we're kind of pick that up from having the client come into the office and have a buyer consultation with you. Where you've nurtured somebody, you've been talking to them, you've got a good rapport and relationship built with them, and you bring them into the office and you sit down with them and you go through the home buying consultation, which is designed to set expectations, educate, further qualify, discover, build rapport, so on and so forth. So we're going to pick this up from that point. This is a booklet that you're looking at now that we're going to go through, that we have hard copy that we provide during that consultation that you leave with the buyer. So the idea here was just to create an overview of the home buying process. So we'll just kind of dive right in here. Again, the whole idea is to come up with a great strategy for a buyer. So that they're working with a great realtor, that you bring them in for a consultation, that they've got proper search set up so that they're seeing the right homes. The next step in that process is to get the financing, of course, in place so that from the financials, they've got that piece of the puzzle solid. They know where they stand. They've got the confidence moving forward. You as the agent have the confidence that client has the ability to purchase. The mortgage application process, getting that pre-approval letter. Once that's solid and you feel good about that, the next step obviously would be to then get out and start looking at homes. Get out of the market and start seeing some homes that match their criteria. If you recall from the buyer consultation training, if you do your job right and you listen really well to the client, those first few homes, handful of homes that you get out and see should be what they're looking for. So as I mentioned, the next step is getting out, looking at homes. Once you actually find a home that's a good fit for them, the next step obviously would be to make offers and negotiate on that property. You as the agent are going to do some analysis on that before you write it to make sure that you and your client are making a informed offer, not just a blind offer, and that you're putting your clients in a position where you're setting them up for success. Once you've got that in place and you've negotiated, the next step is to make sure that you've got escrow in place and that you've got your inspections lined up, and then after that it's really the closing. You've got the financial underwriting that's got to be done, the final steps that are being handled there, the appraisal, title work, insurance, utilities, final walkthrough, all of those other pieces of the puzzle, then all of the signing that takes place at the closing. So that's kind of an initial overview, if you will. The next step here would be to, give me a second here to get that page to where I need it. The next step would be to just kind of break down that first page, which is to discuss your strategy, right? That's when you bring somebody in, you're meeting with them at your initial consultation. You're educating them. You're making them knowledgeable about the market and what's going on. You're talking to them about the dollars and cents part of it, right? And every decision they make could save or cost them thousands of dollars. We point out the 7 steps of the home buying process and the strategy. You want to make sure that you're working with an expert. You want to make sure that their dreams are being funded and that they're selecting the right home and that you're going to negotiate on their behalf. You're going to protect the home with inspections and insurance and clear title. And then you're going to obviously close on their home with them, and that hopefully we've created a world-class experience where they are clients for life. And that's the goal, guys, is to make sure that we're offering that world-class experience where these clients, if they're ever thinking about buying or selling a home or know somebody who is, the first thing they think about is the Nickley Group. Okay, so as we move on here, the next step here would be expert advice and setting your strategy. Again, this is where you as the agent are bringing a lot of experience to them, right? This is your value proposition to a buyer, is that you've got the market knowledge, you've got the expertise, and you're bringing that to the table. You know, you understand what the economic indicators are. You understand the local market conditions. You understand the inventory levels and what it's going to take for your client to be successful. And you're offering this kind of information and these details to your client so that they're confident and they're comfortable that you are the right agent to work with. Okay. The next piece of that is smart home buying strategy. Again, this is really kind of evaluating the needs and the wants, making sure that the client has an understanding of what their out-of-pocket expenses are going to be. The difference in their financing needs and their pre-approval. Us having an understanding of lifestyle. Their what kind of recreational things that they're doing. Again, this is making sure that we have an expert strategy in place to make this home buying process world class. Okay. And then we customize a plan, right, to make sure that it's specific to them, specific to their needs, and that we are able to accommodate and accomplish their goals. Okay. So as we move on here, funding the dream, obviously this would be getting them connected with a lender, right? We've got an amazing lender partner who we work with. We always highly recommend that our clients go with our preferred lender. They really offer a world-class experience like we do. Their goal and their focus is to be able to create a world-class home buying experience for the client. They're very, very customer service focused. So, our job is to get these clients in the hands of a qualified lender who's going to make sure that they've got the right product options. They're gonna obviously dig deep and evaluate the financial needs of the client, and they're going to create solutions that are best fit for them. So funding the dream really comes down to getting them connected with the right lender and making sure that they've got the right resources and tools and they feel good about the decisions that they're making there. Okay. Once we've got them connected, then of course getting that pre-approval in place is the next big key. And this offers, some detailed information, for the consumer. Some key factors to consider is how much of a down payment, what's their debt to income ratio. These are things, of course, that the lender is going to cover. But what are the costs associated with a transaction? This outlines on here some of the different types of loans and what the down payment requirements would be. It gives some examples on the bottom there of what closing costs would be. A typical range would be somewhere between 4 to 5% of what the mortgage amount is. That can vary, but that's a good number to use when you're calculating, when you're coming up with estimates for your client. So this gives a good example down there for people to be able to work with. And it's again, this is really great content for a buyer to be walking away from a consultation with, because you're going to be giving them a lot of information there. They go home, they're trying to digest that, and they've got this information in front of them. It's really good stuff. So the next step here as we move forward, really after we've got that pre-approval in hand, is to get out and start looking at homes. And the idea is that we're going to be seeing the homes first that should be the best fit for them. Again, in my opinion, good buyer's agents really listen to what the client's looking for, what the client needs. Needs first, wants second, and then you should be showing those clients those homes first. And then, ideally speaking, your client's ready to write an offer. They're ready to make offers. If you're physically out looking at homes and they're pre-approved, you should be ready to write offers. So, showings, obviously, you're out looking at homes, you're viewing the favorites. You want to make sure that it's matching what their goals are in terms of, size and family needs and lifestyle and location and commute and so on and so forth. So selecting the right home is obviously very important. Once you've got that home selected, next step obviously is to get an offer written and to negotiate the terms, right? We want to make sure that when we're working with clients that we put them in the best position to win, right? Sometimes as sales professionals, we've got to have conversations with people, and it's what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And when you're working with folks in the hot market that we have right now, to tell them that they may have to offer over asking price, or they may be in a multiple offer situation, and they may have to get aggressive, and then they need to take your advice. That's what they need to hear. That's what's going to set them up for success. So you've got to make sure that you're having those conversations and that you're going to negotiate heavily on their behalf. If you know that seller concession is needed, obviously that conversation takes place. And then what happens and what our strategy is if we get into a multiple offer situation. So negotiating the terms obviously is important and critical to making sure that we get them what they need. Making the offer, again, that's part of that kind of goes hand in hand with the last page. In terms of price, and again, I'm going to look at comps before I actually sit down and write the offer, so that we're making an informed offer with our client. You educate them on the earnest money deposit. You set expectations. You want to make sure that you've got clarity in what the financing terms are. For example, if your client's going to be doing conventional financing, you don't want to write the offer as FHA financing, so you got to make sure that you've got clarity on that. And you discuss these things, the inspection period, the closing date, any kind of personal property that's included. If there is any seller concessions, again, that's needed. Again, it gives an example down there at the bottom of what seller concessions would be. And that you spend time talking to your client about that stuff as you write the offer, so that it's matching their needs. Now, once you have got that contract solidified and you've come to terms, next step is to get home inspections. There are a variety of inspections. We've got some fantastic vendors who we make recommendations to our clients to. But during that inspection period, that home buyer can do any and all inspections of the property that they deem that they want to have done, and there are several. Generally, it's a general home inspection with a WDO, wood destroying organism, or termite inspection. But you can have wind mitigation, you can have mold, you can have septic, you can have you can have individual trades, plumbers, roofers, electricians, so on and so forth. The client, whatever's important to the client in that respect. You just want to make sure that they know that they have all of those options on the table, and that they find out what they're buying through an inspection and determine whether or not they want to continue, rather than not do an inspection and then find out what they already bought. So we want to make sure that we put them in a position where they are protected there. The next step there in the process would be the closing. So at that point, what's kind of happening is they've got to get homeowners insurance lined up. You can give them multiple options there. It's up to the client to make a decision on who they want to go with and what kind of policy they want. The title company is doing their part. They are making sure that title is clean and that all of the necessary documents and communication with the lender are taking place. If there's any sort of homeowners association, they're getting the proper documentation there. so that there's nothing due with the HOA. They're getting the municipal lien searches done and identifying any open permits. So title company's doing their part. The lender is also doing their part in terms of all of the final underwriting and making sure that any documents that they need from the client to satisfy the underwriter are being obtained and getting those things cleared. Appraisal, survey, last minute items, all of that is taking place. And then, at that point you're issued, the clear to close, which is fantastic. There's a final walkthrough that's done just prior to close, so that you have an opportunity to go out and view the home, walk through one more time just before all of the paperwork is signed, to make sure that the home is in a condition and that the things are in the home that the buyer expects that are to be there, that was there as of the time of the initial offer. Okay. Next step is really to set expectations, and again, this is something that the client, the buyer, is walking away from that consultation with, and it's what to expect at the closing. Who's going to be there? What's going to happen? What do I need? What's important? So this is a great information page to tell them about that. You as the agent should be at the closing. You've built this relationship with the client. You've nurtured it. You've got them to a point where you've been out, you've looked at homes, you've got a great rapport and a great relationship built with them. You absolutely want to make sure that you're there at the final step to see them close. Everybody needs photo IDs at closings. You've absolutely got to set the expectation that all funds for closing must be electronically transferred. Title companies won't accept checks or cashier's checks or anything anymore. The title company is going to facilitate the closer there. Will make sure that they go through all of the paperwork and that the buyer is comfortable and has clarity in all of the final numbers, and all of the documents are going to be signing. And that they satisfy everything that the lender needs. So that's what to expect at the closing. And then what's really important, gang, is that we want to make sure that we're a lifetime resource for these folks along the way, and that we've given them a world-class experience from the very beginning. We have been resourceful. We've been knowledgeable. We've created a relationship. We've created solutions. We've put them in a position to be successful and accomplish this goal of becoming a homeowner. We have made sure that they had resources along the way for anything that they need, and we want to make sure that this client is a client for life. We want to make sure that as they think in the future, when they want to sell this home and move up, right? Maybe their family grows and they want to buy a bigger house. First thing that comes to mind is the experience they had when they bought this house in the Nickley Group. And we do that obviously through everything I just mentioned, but we do that through our Raving Fans Club, and that is continued contact with these folks. Most realtors will fall flat in that after a real estate closing, it's kind of like a breakup. You never talk to your clients again. That's a huge miss. It's a huge fail for most people. We absolutely stay in touch with our clients through a variety of ways, handwritten notes, personal phone calls, events, client appreciation events that we offer, parties that we do throughout the year. So you want to set an expectation to your client also that they're a part of this family now, and that we're going to continue to stay in touch with them. So that pretty much covers the whole buyer's guide. Again, this was just meant to be an overview. You'll have hard copies of this, obviously, to review. Your clients will have these as you meet with them. But I think that about wraps up what I had for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.